Hello, welcome to my second Flosstube. Thank you so much to everyone who joined me for the first one, and to everyone who subscribed and commented. I really enjoyed reading them and having a chat with everyone who made a comment. And I did find some more patterns that I want to stitch through some recommendations that people in the comments made. So that was really exciting. Thank you so much. Um, I'm back. I'm going to show you what I've worked on since my last Flosstube. It's been about 2 weeks, so yes, there's been a few things that I've worked on. I thought I'd start by showing you another two of my kind of previous finishes, things that I did well in the past, because otherwise, well, I'd have to do a whole video of doing them, and I thought they'd be quite nice just to do at the start. So, first, it's Me Made May, which if you are not a part of the kind of clothes sewing community, Me Made May is when people wear clothes they made themselves to work and life, to try and kind of highlight the fact that we don't necessarily know who made our clothes or how they've been treated. So I'm wearing another outfit that I made myself. This is a hand-knitted jumper. This design is by Jessie Made Designs. She is she's an American knitting designer. She makes amazing knitting patterns. They're available on both Ravelry and via other shops, which is quite important at the moment because Ravelry is not necessarily accessible to everyone. It's quite important for knitting designers to have designs available in alternate places. So yes, Jessie is also really active on Instagram, and hers is quite a fun account to follow if you like following knitting designers' accounts. So yes, her designs are really interesting. They're fun. She has some which are quite involved, like this is quite an involved pattern to knit, but she also has some really quite simple, straightforward ones, which I would say are quite good first, like knitted top patterns. Like there's My Little Secret crop top, which I think would be quite a good first top pattern if you are that way inclined. This is the Diaphanous Raglan, so it has mohair sleeves. So you can kind of see through them because they're knit in mohair. And then it has, you hold the mohair with a fingering weight yarn to do the body and the cuffs. So it gives you this really interesting kind of two different fabrics in the jumper. So yeah, very interesting patterns from Jessie Made Designs. I'll pop her name in the description so you can have a look if you're interested in knitting jumpers. So yeah, that's Me Made May. That's Jessie Made Designs. I would say that I wear my own clothes really quite frequently. I've been making my own clothes for somewhere between 10 and 5 years now on the kind of knitting and sewing spectrum. So I have a lot of different handmade items that I just wear generally. So although Me Made May is an event that's happening at the moment, I wear my own clothes all the time. So it's not that special. I just wanted to highlight it in case you've not heard of it. So onto the previous finishes. I thought I would start with one that's not cross stitch, and on another kind of tangent from the cross stitch. I'm just going to have some coffee because it's interesting sometimes to see things that are slightly different. So this is actually a Crewel work embroidery, and I bought it as a kit, and I just stitched the kit. The design was printed onto the fabric, and then I just stitched over it. And basically, this is a Crewel work tapestry. I would say this is a relatively modern design for Crewel work. Crewel work designs you'll see they're the quite Jacobean, traditional-looking designs. And Sarah, who runs Melbury Hill, who did this kit, and they have other incredible kits. There's one with a squirrel, which is just adorable. They have designs that I would say are more on the modern spectrum of Crewel work. And Crewel work is done with wool, so I don't know how much the texture of that is coming through onto the camera. But it's it's much thicker to work with, and it's really fun and interesting. And I went straight in the deep end. I'd never done Crewel work before. I've done other embroidery, so I had used some of these stitches, like see. So these trees are done using, my mind has gone completely blank, fly stitch. So fly stitch for the stems, and then long and short stitch in the grass, satin stitch throughout for anything that's kind of round or bulky, stem stitch on any of the long bits. And then there was some really interesting, like the trellis work is done by using little bits of couching. So yeah, it was really interesting. It was quite a challenge at the time, because it was with a material I'd never used and some of the stitches were new. But I really enjoyed it, and the result is fantastic. And I fully intended to get this framed. I did this a year ago, and I have not. So that's on me. I definitely should have got this framed because it's amazing, and I'm really pleased with it. So, yeah, if you're considering crewel work, I'd really recommend the Melbury Hill kits, because everything you need comes with it. There's plenty of wool. I know sometimes with kits there can be like will they send you enough of the stuff, which can be a bit concerning, but this definitely came with way more wool. Like, I still have all the wool, which I'm probably not going to use because I don't have a kind of thing in my head for what I would do with all these little bits of crewel work wool. But yeah, I was really pleased with that, and it came out so well. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. The second one is a cross stitch design. So I went to Paris 5 years ago, and went with my partner at the time, who's not my partner now, but we went for the weekend. We had a lovely time wandering around Paris, visiting all the museums, drinking a lot of coffee. I mean, it was very nice. And it's quite easy to go from London because you just get on the Eurostar, and in normal times you just get on the Eurostar and you're there in an hour. Obviously at the moment that's not a thing you can do, but hopefully soon. And we popped into this little needle workshop we stumbled across, and I picked up another kit. So this was, I did look up who this was by, because I don't have records of it anymore. So the shop must have been Les Bonheur. I'll put the name in the description. And this is one of the designs from that shop. And it says Bienvenue à la maison, bienvenue au chaud, au sec. And it means welcome to our house, welcome to the warm, welcome to the dry. And it's very cute. It doesn't fit into our current flat. And now that I've shown it to you, it's going to one of my friends who studied in Paris for a while and would like it for her kitchen. So yes, I'm happy that it's going to a good home. I really enjoyed stitching it at the time. These figures are really cute, and they have a lot of movement in them, which I really like. And I'm glad that she would like it. And yes, just very pleased that someone would like it. But it was a nice souvenir from a trip, and it gave me something to do on the Eurostar on the way back. Move that on the table a bit closer to me so I'm not reaching all the way over there to put them down. Since I last saw you, I both started and finished and then fully finished a new piece. And it was because I told you that I play in a D&D game, and one of the characters has this bat familiar that is pink. And I saw this pattern by the Witchy Stitcher because somebody mentioned, I think it was Michelle Bendy, mentioned the Witchy Stitcher, and I just went and had a look. And I was scrolling through, obviously, the Witchy Stitcher's entire catalogue, because you have to look at all of them just in case. And I saw this pattern, and I was like, well, I have to stitch that. It's perfect. It's pink. It's a bat. It says, I am the knight. And I sat on it for a couple of days, and I was like, it's a really cheap pattern. I have all the stuff for it. I'm just going to do it. It's not going to take me very long. It's a very small pattern. So I'm so pleased with this. I think it's adorable. This is my extremely grumpy bat by the Witchy Stitcher. So all of the bat itself is cross stitch, then the words back stitch, and then you do it's actually called turkey stitch for the hair to make it like fluffy. And my partner's son Ivo has been absolutely obsessed with its hair. Every time I come in, he is just like moving the hair around. So I'm considering stitching another one that he can put in his room, because this is going to a friend. Now that I've shown it to you, the friend whose character has the pink bat familiar, I'm going to send it to her so she can have it. But yeah, he really he really enjoys the hair on this. And so I got a 4-inch embroidery hoop and I stained it black. So I used the hands-on design tutorial to just use some acrylic paint, and I mixed it with water. It's black acrylic paint with a tiny bit of purple. I mixed it with water and I just used a foam brush to stain the hoop black. And it turned out really well. You can still see the grain of the wood through it, which is really nice. And then I just sewed some felt on the back to protect the back. And that is done. I would have preferred black felt, but I only had white felt, and I'd rather use what I have than buy more. No one's going to see the back, so I just whip stitched it on. You can't see that, but it's whip stitched on with some very, very pale lavender thread, because again, that is what I had. All of my white stitch was on the sewing machine because I was making a dress. So yeah, it's adorable. It took me a day. I really enjoyed doing the turkey stitch, and the effect is amazing. And I used a twirl, 360 twirl. You can kind of see the sparkle picking up there, just on the hair. The twirl also has an interesting texture. It's more fluffy. 310 is quite. Anyone else find that their 310 is quite. It has a different texture to the other DMC threads. Like, I find DMC quite silky. Well, it's not silk. Obviously, it's not as silky as silk, but I do find DMC has quite a pleasant texture. But 310 is quite rough. The same with 3371. It has a different texture to the other DMC threads, and the etoile is really fluffy and it has a different twist. So actually, it works really well for the hair, and the little sparkle is really nice. So anyway, this is going to my friend today, and I am very pleased with it. The fabric is I think it's a 14 count, not 100% certain, but it's a printed fabric from Claire Brown X Stitch, and the colour is raspberry, and it was perfect. I had this in my stash already. I saw the pattern, and I was like, I have the perfect fabric for that. I changed the colours because I love these pinks, and yeah, it just all came together. I'm so happy with it. So moving on to things that I've worked on. So the first thing that I've worked on is beach dance. So this is what I have in my bag, and whenever I go anywhere, I'll put in a few stitches while I'm on the tube or sat at a cafe or anywhere. But we have been going out and about a tiny bit more since the lockdown is starting to lift in the UK. So we went to Kew last week. Kew Gardens, it's a big botanical garden in London, and Chris and I went on a Thursday because I'm still on part-time furlough. So we went and had a kind of couple of hours wandering around the gardens. I will say at the moment, all the outdoors is open, but the cafes and the kind of indoor spaces, like the greenhouses, the glass houses, they have these amazing glass houses. They're all closed. So you can have coffee, but you have to sit outside to have it. And I do prefer attractions and botanic gardens and things when you can be outside for as long as you want, and then you can go sit inside for a bit and just get away from the wind. The UK is not the UK is not the perfect place to have to be outside all the time. But it was a really nice day. We had a great time. And yes, so I've just been kind of taking this with me. And I'm starting to go to work occasionally. Like, I'm in the office for one day next week. So we are just out and about a tiny bit more than we were. So this is my kind of, only has a little bit left to go. So I'm just kind of taking it with me when I go places. So I have put in a tiny bit more. This way. still got my needle in there because it's my travel project, and where are you going to store your needle? And I stitch in hand, so I don't want needle minders on my project because it makes it heavy. So what I have put in since you last saw it is all of the sand. Sand is done now. And I started on this flower. I had to take out some stitches because I realised that I'd crossed them the wrong way, which is really irritating. And sometimes I decide that I don't care. So some of my projects do have the occasional bit of stitching that is crossed the wrong way, but this is going to a friend, so I do care. I'm sure that he would never notice. He's never going to look at it and be like, wow, there are 4 stitches in that flower that are crossed in an opposite direction to all the other stitches. But it's a gift, and I would like it to not have, especially when I've noticed and it's only 4 stitches, I'd like it not to have like random odd stitches that are the wrong way around. But I adore this. It's so good. This is on Claire Brown X Stitch fabric. It's printed, so the back is white. Front is this stormy grey colour, which I thought was great for beachy colours. The only thing I have at the moment with this pattern is that because the original is charted to be on kind of a beigey fabric, and I chose to put it on blue because I prefer blue to beige. The original has kind of blue flowers charted down here, and they're sort of a pale blue. I think they're 3811, and I don't think they're going to show up very well on this. So I'm considering whether I put them in there's a pale pink that goes in the middle of here, or I might put them in sort of a pale yellowy colour, just so that they show up a tiny bit better on this fabric. So decisions to be made. I'm not putting in the border. There is a big square border that goes all around this, like a checkerboard border. And I'm just going to frame it square to the edge of the beach, and I'm not doing it. It's a whole load of extra stitching, and I don't think it needs it, and I'm not doing it. So yeah, I do love it though. Look at those happy little beach dancey boobies. That pattern is by Lindy Stitches. I should have said that. Lindy Stitches has amazing patterns. If you like cutesy things, yeah, they're great. The next thing I've worked on is Sea Dragon. This is by, my phone keeps turning itself off, which is very irritating. Nadezhda Gavrilenkova. And this is this way up. And I have put in quite a lot on this. Let me just try and make that square and frame. So, no, definitely this way. So, yeah, I mean, it's looking great. Since you last saw it, I've put in, I'm not in a mirror, quite a lot up here, this whole arch up here, and quite a lot up here. So, yeah, it's coming along great. I think I'm near to 25% on this now, which it doesn't look like 25%, but apparently so. And it looks amazing. Someone on Instagram was talking about Russian designers having blends. This design has so many blended colours where you have one thread from one colour and one thread from a different colour that you're stitching at the same time to make it just blend between the colours. You can kind of point in the right direction. You can kind of see down here maybe where there's kind of like bluey greens. That's not a specific colour of DMC. That is a mix between this green and this blue. And the transition that you get between them is really nice. It is fantastic. And this camera doesn't autofocus, so I don't think you're going to be able to see if I hold it closer. Kind of. But it is a lot more effort because you're cutting. I normally cut quite long strands of DMC and then fold in half so that you get the little loop on the end that you can pull through. When you're cutting blends as well, you have really long bits of DMC that you're using for when you're stitching double with that colour. You also have really short bits of DMC that you're using, well, not short, but half the size that you're using for blends. I bobbinate as well. So I have on my bobbins, I have my skein plus my long bits plus my short bits. So skein management is is a little bit more challenging when you're working with blends. And I don't have different bobbins for different projects. I have a single set of DMC that I use for all of my projects, and then refill when I run out, because that works best for me. And I don't have the storage space to store like 17 different project bags with 17 different sets of DMC. So I have 2 boxes full of DMC. It's going to be more soon. It just will be. Like I already ordered all the floss for Princess Eliana, which was about 20 more. So it will expand, but I can store those. What I can't store is like 20 different project bags. So that is what suits us in our flat. We live in London, so space is a premium. So yes, that is what works for us. But yes, I absolutely adore this. Soon I will get to the dragon's head, and you will start to see some dragon rather than just all of the sea. So yeah, very excited. This is a merino Zweigart 32 count even weave. Even weave just means that it's been machine made. I'm sure that linen is also machine made, but basically the even weave is produced so that the squares are all the same size, so that your stitches should look exactly even. Whereas linen, the threads can be different sizes, so you can have some rows that are extremely thin and some rows that are much thicker. I like stitching on both. I really like the feel of merino. It has a nice thickness to it, which I like in my hands. But if you're talking about hand-dyed fabrics, merino has some polyester in it. Maybe not specific polyester, but it has some plastic-based fibers in it, which means that it doesn't pick up dye as well. So when you're looking at hand-dyed fabrics, if you want something that's a bit less intense, it's nice to use an even weave and get an even weave, because the dye effect will be less intense on an even weave than it will be on a linen. And if you want something incredibly bold, then you should choose a linen, because the linen will pick up the dye in a way that is incredibly bold. Obviously, people can dye linen in a way that is subtle, but if you want a really bold effect, you should probably choose the linen over the even weave. If you're looking at hand-dyed fabrics and what you're looking at is a linen, but you're ordering an even weave, you should look for a picture of the even weave colour, because it's probably going to turn out slightly differently. Don't order an even weave based on a picture of the linen, because they're going to come out differently. Most dyers will provide pictures of all of the different fabrics. That was a long explanation of dyeing. But yes, on to my next project, which is Mirabilia. So Mirabilias are quite involved projects. They have large stitch counts, and they are intense, and I'm really enjoying it. The only thing I'm not enjoying about stitching this Mirabilia is that the pattern is paper. So when I want to stitch the Mirabilia, I have to have a really decent amount of time where I can sit down, clear off my desk, put down the paper pattern, because it's big. It's like an A3 sheet of paper that I fold in half. No, it's A3 when it's folded in half, which means it must be bigger. Big. It's really big. Which is good, because it means that all the squares are very visible. I need to have a decent chunk of time when I can sit and dedicate to this project. Whereas all my other ones that are on Pattern Keeper, I feel like I can pick up and put down, because I just flip between them on my phone. So it is a different vibe, but it does mean when I pick it up, I get quite a lot of progress on it, because I've set some time aside for it. So with that being said, this is Royal Games 1. This is designed to look like a playing card. I should have said I'm going to ask Chris to put in photos exactly like that of the finished items and what they're going to look like, so you can see, rather than me holding up my iPad, because I think that's going to look better. And they said that it wouldn't take them very long. So Chris is my partner. Chris is also an editor, so is going to edit this for me the fact. So Royal Games 1 is designed to look like a playing card. The Queen of Hearts is at the top, the Queen of Spades is at the bottom. I've recharted the colours on both of them. So the Queen of Hearts is going to have black skin and black hair, and the Queen of Spades is going to have the blonde hair that the Queen of Hearts has in the original. There is a initiative going on Instagram at the moment called #Diversity and Inclusion Cell, which basically trying to encourage people to include more representation in their stitching. I think the aim is eventually to try and persuade designers to include more representation in their stitching, which would be fantastic, because it is a faff to do it yourself, and I think it is important for designers to produce designs that have more diverse skin tones. While designers are not doing that, I think stitchers should do it themselves where they can and where they want to. But I think at the end of the day, designers need to show representation within their designs. Like, not everybody is white. That's ridiculous. So if you're only designing white people, you're leaving out a huge amount of people from being represented in your designs. So yes. So this is where we are with the Queen of Hearts. Since you last saw her, I've come wrong hand. I've come a long way up her arm. So I've put in her hand, and I started to put in this rose. It took me a long time to figure out whether this was a rose or a tart. You know, like the Queen of Hearts, she had some tarts. But I think it's a rose. Having looked at other people's, I'm pretty certain it's a rose. Which, you know, I would have been happy for it to be a tart. I put in all the sleeve. And the skin, I think it's turning out okay. I was looking at kind of reference pictures of black people's arms in different positions and with different lighting to make sure that it was looking kind of how that would actually look in real life. Because obviously this has been charted for a white person's skin tone. I just want to make sure that it didn't look odd now that I've changed the skin tone, in terms of like, this isn't how it would look on a black person, because, you know, it's a different color. So yes, I think it's turning out all right. But yes, I'm quite excited now, because now I start to come up into the chest area, and this again is starting to put in more of the skin tone. And then there's also like a collar, like a big collar stand thing. Collar stand. Ruff is specifically around the neck, so I guess this is like a collar stand. Stand collar? I don't know. If you know the terminology, let me know. And then we get up into her hair, which is really cool. It's in an updo, and it looks kind of curly, which is great because that can look like it's got some natural texture in it, which is fantastic. And then she has lots of like pink flowers in the back of her hair, which is really pretty. And then a nice big gold crown, which, again, awesome. I'm not putting any beads on this until I have finished all the stitching. I could put beads on it because I stitch in hand, so they're not going to get crushed by the hoop. But what I am worried about is that if I put beads on it and then I'm rolling the fabric up and moving it, they might just get jolted or moved, or the stitches weakened. So I just, out of preference, I have decided to wait to bead it. I might change my mind. I am flighty, and I would really like to put some beads on it, but I think for security, I'm going to wait. That is another merino. That is 32 count merino. All merino is 32 count because merino refers specifically to that size fabric. So if I say merino, that means it is a 32 count. 28 count even weave would have a different name. I'm not entirely sure what it is. I know 27 count is called Linda, which is cool. So I think, oh God, I got that wrong. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think so. Panic stations. But yes, 32 count, the specific fabric from Zweigart that is 32 count even weave is called merino. So if I call the fabric merino, it is a 32 count even weave, which is cool, which is fun. what was I saying? That one is antique white. The blue is azure blue if you're looking for that specific colour, because it is really cool. Right, and moving on swiftly before I get myself into more of a panic about what all the fabrics are called. Dreaming Frida. So the final part of the Dreaming Frida style came out on the 1st of May. I was really hoping that I would be able to finish this for this Flosstube. However, for some reason, when I was kitting this up and going through all the flosses and making sure that I had all the flosses so that I'd be able to finish the project, missed 3. And it's not like I missed 3 like flower ones that I could just swap. I missed the face ones. So she's mostly done. There's some of her face missing. So she looks amazing. I mean, even with some of her face missing, she looks amazing. Nope, that's the right way. Ah! Oh god. So, right, okay. So, this is by Barbara Anna Designs. It was a 3-part stitch along. It finished on the 1st of May. And I think you can now either sign up and you'll get just the whole 3 parts, or at some point it'll be converted into just like a 1-piece pattern. You could just buy the whole thing as 1 piece. I absolutely adore this. It turned out so beautifully. I didn't know what it was going to look like before I started, because it was a mystery. You saw like a swirl of what it was going to look like, but it's beautiful. I've got a really dry throat today. I'm not sure why. I think it's because the weather's turning here. It's all like, it's either really sunny or it's raining, and I think it's making my throat really weird. In the, as charted, the Viva la Vida would have been filled in a sort of paler brown. So her hair is 3371, and I think the paler brown would have been like 779, or I might have got that colour wrong, but it was like a sort of a cool toned brown that was slightly lighter. And I looked at the browns together. I looked at putting a different colour in. Then I decided to stitch all of the hair and see what it looked like and see what I thought. So I stitched the hair first. I'd already stitched all of that bit and all of this bit, because those were the first 2 parts. So I stitched all of the hair, and then I came on and stitched all of her, what I could. And I decided that I actually really like it with the fabric showing through. So all I did was I backstitched any bits where there is no stitching, just to close it. And I backstitched at the top where it matched the other stitching. And I think it's really nice. I think with the paler brown, the words kind of blend into the hair and you can't really see it. And while that's quite nice in a way, because it kind of, they're there but they're not there. If they're going to be there, I'd rather they be there. So I've left it like this. I will fill in the rest of her face, and then she will be done. And it was really nice. It was a really well pitched stitch along. So the parts came out about 15 days after each other. They were all manageable. They were all really small bits of stitching, and the biggest bit of stitching, which was her and her hair, came out last, so that if if that took you longer, it didn't matter, because that was the last bit. So I thought that was really kind of clever from Barbara Anna. It was really doable. You can see, in terms of like nods to Frida, you can see the little skull earring over here from the little skeleton man, and there's the cat, and then obviously the floral headdress and her eyebrow. Yeah, it's just fantastic. I really like it. Has anyone been watching The Great British Sewing Bee? Did you see in the episode the episode last week where they had to do the dresses or the outfits inspired by Frida Kahlo, and some of them were incredible. But there was one man, bless him, who he'd never heard of Frida Kahlo before the episode, before they gave him the brief. And he was like, I'm going to make a dress inspired by her eyebrows. And so he put like a bit of fringe across the top of this like strapless dress. And they were like, it just doesn't feel like it's got Frida in it. I'm like, yeah, no shit. He's not heard of Frida before this episode. Like, he's not gonna come here and bring something that's like deep and meaningful and inspired by Frida, is he? He's never heard of her. I used to work for English National Ballet a couple of years ago, and they did a ballet inspired by Frida Kahlo, and it was incredible. If I can find a link to any of it online, I'll pop it in the description, because it was just absolutely beautiful. And they had some of the male dancers dressed up as the skeleton men, and lots of them in like the full-on skirt. It was just, deer headdress. It was absolutely beautiful. Really, really nice. And at the time I was working in the fundraising department, so I got to go to some of the opening nights for that, and it was absolutely beautiful to watch. So yeah, if I can find any kind of like snippets of that, I'll pop a link in the description, because it was really nice. But yeah, I really enjoyed stitching this. And this is on a hand-dyed fabric. This is a 27 count. It's from Chromatic Alchemy. I believe it's an even weave. Yeah, it looks pretty even. Looks even to me. This one is not available to purchase anymore. It was from her pre-dyed section, where she puts kind of her experiments, Sam, who runs Chromatic Alchemy. But oh my god, her fabrics are amazing. I would really highly recommend, if you're in the UK and you're looking for a hand dyer, Chromatic Alchemy. She's incredible. I've not been disappointed yet from her site, and I thought probably slightly too many. I've done Dreaming Frida on the same fabric, so I will be framing them together, and they're a pair. So yes, very excited. The new normal. Thank you so much for all your lovely comments about it. People were really nice about it, and it was really nice. So thank you. The pattern is The New Normal by Longdog. It's a sort of sampler inspired by the pandemic. I talk more about it in my Whip Parade. The idea is that there are all these bubbles and things are kind of separated off. They're all like separate from each other. And since you last saw it, I have been putting in a new bubble. I pointed the wrong side. Down here with the horse, which I just put in the head last night, so you can see that it is actually a horse. Sorry, my camera is literally right in front of me, so I can't sometimes see bits of the screen, which is why I'm like looking around the camera. So since you last saw it, I think I have this deer. I have this little raven with a cherry, and starting to get this horse. And these bubbles are so much stitching. I'm trying to put in 100 stitches a day at least. Sometimes I get in 300, which is amazing. It's really satisfying. It's kind of, because I do that, I kind of have a feel for this fabric, so I don't need to count the holes as much as I do on other fabrics, and it just kind of, it works for me. I'm using a single strand of sulky, which again works really well because it's so much easier to pull and thread the needle, and yeah, it's great, and I'm having a great time doing it. And this is nearly, I say nearly, I mean, good grief, there's the whole rest of this bubble to go. But this is nearly the entire bottom row of pages done. And yeah, it does. I don't often step back and see them. I'm quite often, like, obviously I'm incredibly close to them. So it is really nice to kind of look at them from a distance. The fabric is another 32 count merino. Not that I'm obsessed with merino. I just love how it feels. This colour is burgundy. I love it. And the thread is a sulky. It's one of their blendables. It's the white blendable one. So it has like, I don't think you can tell from this distance because it does look like it's all one colour, but it is a slight blend of like white to kind of beigey cream, which in person gives it a really nice effect. So yes, I will get this bubble done. This one here, this incredibly massive horse bubble. And then when you get to the top, there is another horse on the other side, on the diagonal, which is really cute. So yes, that is that one. Dark Queen of the Seas. I just started Dark Queen of the Seas last time I saw you, and I've not got much further, to be honest. So, gosh, those fishes have those stitched fish. All those words have the same kind of sound, and my mouth got confused. Those fishes have a lot of stitches. This fish took a long time. I love it though. I do love it. And it's pink. Great. And then this is the start of her body. So she has coral on her hips. And then this is her hip. And you can you probably can't see, but I have put in like one row of her skin. Which is blue, on blue fabric. So it's blue. Because I'm doing this post the SAL coming out, so it started coming out in September. And there are 9 parts out now. And so this is a combination of parts 1 and 2. 1 was all 3 fish, 2 was her body. And because I'm obviously well behind, I don't need to count. Basically, part 1 you did this fish and then you counted to the second fish. But because I'm not, I don't need to do it in order. So I'm gonna stitch the rest of her body and then put the fish in when I get to them, because I don't trust myself to count to the fish and get it right. I mean, I probably would get it right, but there's the chance that I would get it wrong, and I don't want to. So I'd rather put her body in, and then when I get to a fish, I'll stitch the fish in, and then I'll continue. So I do think it looks amazing. I'm really, really happy with how it's turning out. She is huge, really big. They just put out part 9, which is like the first tentacle. There's going to be more tentacles. If there's not more tentacles, then she's like a sea slug, which is also cool, but I think there's probably more tentacles to come. But yeah, I love how the colours look on this fabric. This is another Chromatic Alchemy fabric. This is Iolite, which you can buy. This is a 32 count linen. As you can see, the linen takes the dye incredibly. Yeah, just absolutely phenomenal. It is more floppy, like it is not as pleasant to stitch on as merino, because it just like it flops. So if even weave took dye as amazingly as linen, I would always work on even weave, but it doesn't. So sometimes I'll work on linen. But that is by Autumn Lane Stitchery. Obviously, you can still join if you're fancying having a sort of not mermaid queen person. And yeah, she's awesome. She's big. She's going to be big. I'm not sure what we're going to do with her once she's stitched, but we will cross that bridge when we get to it. I think what we're going to have to do is have like 12 that just rotate around the walls occasionally. So when we spoke about Quiet Town 2 weeks ago, I said that I was having trouble stitching it. And I was going to try keeping it off the key snap, stitching it in hand and see how it went. And I did that, and it worked. I mean, it didn't work in, like, I didn't put in 1,000 stitches, but I put in a good 400, which is fine. And over time, that will build to, 75,000. It's a really big piece. You won't be able to see them because it looks exactly the same, but I put in quite a lot of the sky. And I did put in a tiny bit more just in and around the confetti, but mostly I put in the sky because I just wanted to get more done, and the sky is the easiest to stitch because it's most like lots of the stitches of the same colour next to each other. And also I looked at which were the 2 most intense colours, as in like which 2 had the most stitches remaining. So there are 5,000 stitches of 820, which is one of these blues up here. There are 5,000 stitches of 939, which is this really dark navy up here. And so I was like, well, even if I just did 820 and 939 for a very long time across the top, the other way, across the top, and just worked on those and got those stitches down, like all those stitches need doing. It doesn't matter in which order I do the stitches, all of the stitches have to happen. So even if I just work on all those stitches for a long time, it'll need to happen. So it's not, I'm not taking myself away from doing other stitches by doing those stitches. Like those stitches need to happen. And there are 10,000 between those two, that accounts 10,000 stitches of the piece, just those two colours. So that was kind of where my brain went. So yeah, I filled in really quite a lot up here. And it is getting there. There is more there. I am doing it. And it did work keeping it off the Q-snap. It was much easier for me. And I just, yeah, I'm just going to use the Q-snap for things that have specialty stitches where I'm worried about the stretching, like my Northern Expressions needlework twisted band sampler. I am very worried that if I don't do the specialty stitches on a Q-snap, those I will not be able to tension them properly because they're all over the place. So that I will still work on Q-snap and in my frame, my Q-snap holder frame, Lowry frame. But everything else, everything that is just cross stitch, I'm going to work in hand because it works much better for me. My hands appreciate it. I don't get sore, and I actually pick it up because things on Q-snaps where I have to move my Lowry stand in and like it's awkward. I do find it awkward. It's more awkward for me. I'm also not as practiced at it, which is my fault. That is a Heaven and Earth Designs. The original artist who did the artwork is Leonid Afromov, and it's going to be a sort of fishing village. I'm not entirely sure where the fishing village the original painting was based on, but it reminds me of like Cornwall, which is cute. The next thing that I have been working on is my Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery Cozy Cafe Club. The second clue came out. I didn't work on it. Then I decided that I probably should work on it. And no, this way, that way. Just a little bit. Oh, this is a struggle. I'm not enjoying the fabric. It's really stiff. It's Ada. I shouldn't have done that on Ada. I should have done it on even weave. And someone from the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery, I'm not entirely sure who, is stitching them individually on perforated paper. And now that I've seen that, I can't unsee it. And I'm like, well, I could just stitch the ones that I like on perforated paper and scrap this. And I'm very, very sorely tempted to do so because this is not working for me very well. So I don't know what to do. But I'm really not enjoying working with Ada at all. And I'm not like in love with the project enough to keep working on the Ada. So unsure. If you have thoughts, let me know. So this is what it looks like at the moment. I do really like the raspberry mocha. It's very cute, but I mean, I could just cut that out and frame it on its own. Yeah, make it into a tiny little bag just on its own. And then do the other ones, like individual little ones on fabric that I actually like. I'm very uncertain. The thing is, I don't think all Adas are as stiff as this, but this one is very stiff. And I don't know if it's just because it's a really big piece and it's too big for the project. I might try cutting it down a bit. Because if you look at it, like this piece of Ada is way too big. That's the middle. This one is the outer edge. It is the outer edge. So this is way too big. So I might try chopping it in and just see if that helps. But I've kind of fallen out of love with it a little bit. So I have too many projects that I absolutely adore to work on things that I don't love. So yeah, don't know. Unsure about that one. And finally, in the things that I've worked on pile is Rooks by Forest Embroidery. So I'm stitching this for as a wedding present for two friends. I hopefully they're not watching this, but if you are, just act surprised when I give it to you. And it's coming along really well. Again, I'm stitching this from paper, so it is another one where I like get out my paper, get out all the threads, get myself ready, get myself in the zone. I'm also trying not to write on the paper, so I have to be in the mood to like stitch an entire motif, because then once the motif is stitched, I know it's stitched and I'm not going back to it. So like for example, up here, I forgot a few stitches. I need to go back in and do them. And I know that that's the case, but like otherwise this is entirely done, bar some like back stitching in the middle. But like it's quite heavy brain work to do that, because normally I cross off patterns. But I might want to stitch this for again or for someone else, and I only have a paper copy of the pattern. I don't have a way to copy it. So in this instance, the only way to do that is to not draw on it. So it's a bit of a challenge. I'm quite enjoying it though. And I put my first rook in. Look, there they are. They're adorable. I adore this pattern. It's so cute. The bit of text. So I'm going to ask Chris to put in a picture. The bit of text where it says Rooks in Russian, which is what it says. I'm going to take out. I'm going to put in the two individuals' initials. And then the date at the bottom, it says like 1871, which I don't know why. There's no explanation. But I'm going to put 2021, which is the year they got married. I think they will love it. I hope so. They both really like all kind of corvids, which are like rooks and crows and things. And I think it's a really like cool, interesting, different wedding sampler. So yeah. And the specialty threads, the colours are coming through beautifully. I've not been selective about which bits of thread I use. I quite like that they're varied, and yeah, I think it's turning out great. The only thing I will do occasionally is in the trees, if I've used like a bit that's been one colour for a long time, I'll swap and try and use a different colour. But yes, that is by Al Forest Embroidery. Unfortunately, it's only available as a kit. You can't just buy the pattern. So if you want it, you need to buy the full kit, which is not a bad thing, because I would really recommend buying the threads anyway. It's not overly expensive, given that you're buying hand-dyed threads. If you want an Al Forest Embroidery pattern, but you don't want to buy that kit, all the patterns are 20% off for the next little bit while they're on holiday. So like go now, and buy an Al Forest Embroidery pattern, because they're incredible. I bought 2 more. My Al Forest Embroidery patterns folder around my computer is massive. I have too many. I'm never going to be able to stitch them all. It's fine. Yeah, I adore their patterns. I ordered some fabric last week from Chromatic Alchemy to start kitting up bullfinches and kingfishers. So I have the threads already, so I just need the fabrics, and then I'm kind of good to go. So those are all the projects I've worked on, I think. In terms of my plans, I had a bit of a flight of whimsy. So I started watching She-Ra again, the new version. Definitely not the third time I've watched it. If you haven't watched She-Ra, I would really recommend it. It's a cartoon. That's not a bad thing. Well, it's an animated series. There are 5 seasons. The episodes are all quite short. There is a really diverse group of characters. Diverse in terms of attitude, not necessarily diverse in terms of skin tone. They do lots of adventures. There's a lot of like interesting storylines. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I would really recommend it if you haven't seen it already. I really enjoy it. Yes. Anyway, I was watching it again, and I was like, I really want to do a She-Ra embroidery. And there aren't that many She-Ra patterns. There are She-Ra patterns, but they're all a bit nah. Like, they're just a bit like, we're all friends. They're all like the little stick figure ones. And there's nothing wrong with those, but they're not my taste. So I went into one of the pattern maker websites, as in like the ones that convert a photo into a pattern, and I put in the final series poster, and I made it into a pattern, a really big full coverage pattern. But I'll get Chris to put the photo in, and what I'm going to do is all of the background is going to be fabric because I don't hate myself. I would like to finish this at some point in the foreseeable future. But all of Hordak, that's the evil-looking person at the top, and then it goes down into the main characters. So you have Adora, who is She-Ra, Katra, and then all of their friends at the bottom. All of them, I will stitch them, and then the fabric will be the fabric. I might put in the stars, depending on how it looks. I'm gonna do it. I've ordered the fabric, and yes, when it comes, I will do that. It's going to require a lot of thread, but it's all DMC, so it'll just come from my normal stash, and I'll just kit up where I need to, extra threads, and eventually I'm going to have all of the DMC, so it doesn't matter anyway. Like, if I need to buy more, I need to buy more. So that is one very exciting plan. The next one is that Cat Talks commented on my last post and said, there is a fish pattern you might not have seen that you might really like, and they were right. It's by Shannon Christine Designs, and it's called Koi Pond, and that is what it looks like. And it's amazing. It's kind of like, it reminds me of chatelaines in a significantly less detailed and overwhelming way, because chatelaines are obviously huge amounts of specialty stitches, very large patterns, require huge amounts of kitting up in terms of beads and silks and random threads that you've never heard of. But they are that mirrored design, and it reminds me of that. And I like the look of chatelaines. I didn't have the energy to do one at the moment. So, saw this pattern, was like, I could do that. It's only 93 by 93 stitches. I already have the perfect fabric. Apologies, it's going to rustle. So I got 3 different fabrics from Embroidery Designs, who is another UK-based hand dyer. And this is one of them. So this is called Winter Garden. It is a teal even weave. So this is 32 count merino. As you can see, it's a different dye, it's a different dye process, but as you can see, even weave takes dye differently. And this is nice and subtle, it's beautiful, and it's perfect pond colour. Perfect. I already have some dinky dye silks, and I'm not opposed to buying more dinky dyes. I enjoy working with them. And the design only required like 5, which is fine. So I started kitting up. I ordered the dinky dyes that I don't have. I got some beads. This is it's called Winter Solstice. If you're looking at Embroidery Designs, she sent them quite quickly. I think it was only about 3 weeks, so that was, I would say, very fast. So I'm keeping the beads for this in my Cozy Cafe little pouch. Let me show you. So I have some gold seed beads. I have this enormous bag of clear silver beads. I'm never going to get through those, ever. I have some teal seed beads, and then these are really exciting. So these are bicorns. Bicorn is a specific shape of bead. I don't know how I'm going to describe that in any better way. These ones are amethyst. Then I have, they were called tangerine in the kitting, but they're just a light orange. And I have 2 different shades of aqua AB. And AB just means they have kind of that petrol sheen. And it didn't specifically call for AB. I mean, it called for a colour called zircon, but it was called aqua from the bead shop. And but AB is more fun. So that's what I went for. And Ivo, Chris's son, helped me kit these up, which was really good fun. We had a good time looking for all the different colours from all the different bead shops. So that was a nice time. I have also been kitting up Princess Eliana. So I showed you Princess Eliana next week. She is the big Mirabilia that I'm planning to do. I can't decide whether I'm going to try and wait and finish Royal Games first, because I don't think it's going to take me that long to finish Royal Games. I've already done most. I've done the body of the Queen of Hearts, and I've only got her head to do, and her head is significantly less stitching than her body because it's only a head. Oh, shots fired. We'll see. But that was only like 4 days stitching, and I've got quite a lot of holiday to take, so I don't reckon it's going to take me that long to finish Royal Games. If I applied myself, if I said to myself, I can only start Princess Eliana when I finish Royal Games, that might encourage me to apply myself to Royal Games more. So anyway, I think that's what I'm going to do, because having 2 Mirabilias on the go at once seems like a lot of effort and energy, and also I don't know if I'd finish the beading if I started another one. So anyway, words. So I started kitting up Princess Eliana, which meant more DMC, and some of you sympathise with my DMC bobbinating movement, so you can empathise now. You see, oh, just threw some beads on the floor. But I also got all of the beads, which I've just thrown on the floor. Oh, did this on the 3? I only just got this from Lakeside Needlecraft this morning, so I haven't even looked at it, but you can see I've started to get the beads as well. These are cherry, I think, antique glass beads, and I already have all the other ones. I have these exciting icon-esque things, and then just heaps more seed beads. So she needs a lot of beads. So Princess Eliana is going to be a lot of work. I can already see. I can see that from what I required to get her up. But I saw a video of someone who had done her, who went through kind of how many of each set of beads they had remaining, and it wasn't a lot. For some of the packs where you require 3 of the packs, like they really had like not a lot left. So I'm excited. I'm really excited. I didn't show you my heroic last time, which is my Bitches Plus fabric that I'm going to do her on. I should have taken these out of the bags before I filmed this, but I didn't. So this is heroic. So you can see that kind of some of the variation. So it's got these kind of pinky purpley bits, and I just think she's going to look fantastic on this, because it's not too much. It's not too much, but again, like, I think I got too much. I don't know. What do you think? I think I'm going to have some left over, but that's fine because it's quite neutral. So I'll be able to get other things on there as well. And while I was buying Picture This Plus from 123 Stitch, I also got this this tiny bit of lock, which is sort of a see, I was hoping that I'd be able to fit koi pond on here, but it's too small. This is 8 by 12, and you really need 12 by 12 at least. But this is beautiful, and I will find something to go on here. So yes, that is Princess Eliana with all my threads. Claire Brown X Stitch, who I've mentioned a couple of times. She had a sort of sample sale, and I really like having bits on hand so that if I wanted to pick up and do a small like I did with the bat, I can just do it. I don't need to kind of wait and buy fabric. So I got some crab bags. I got this amazing snowflake fabric, and also this one, which is really cool. It's like sunset. It's a shame that the change happened so close to the border, because I'm not sure how I'm gonna use that because it's so close. I have to do it with an incredibly small border, but it's cool. Like I could use it for a bookmark and just fray it or something. But yeah. And then I got these ones. I'm not sure how I'm going to use these because it's not really my style, but got little what are those, heraldic fleur-de-lis on them. I've got a different colour in that too. Then there's also some sandy coloured. Wow, that just looks white. There's some white next to it, so you can see that it's sandy, which is nice. Would have been great for beach dance if I'd had it at the time, but I didn't. I got some Ada, which is sort of like night sky. I kind of this would look cute with some like swallows flying across it, maybe. No, still thinking about that. Some more sand, like more sand. And that's the fleur-de-lis in a different colour. And then some grey. And this one has like birds and bugs and things on it, which is intriguing. I'm not sure what I'm going to put on that because yeah, I'll just wait and see what comes to me. But so yeah, they were I would say a success. On the fabric front, Peakside Needlecraft, which is another UK-based shop, has started stocking Fox and Rabbit, and I've wanted to try Photo Count for a while. I worry that it might be too small. My eyes are not the strongest, but I have a magnifier, so worst comes to worst, I can always just chuck on the magnifier. And this is a Fox and Rabbit 40 count linen. This is Winter Wren, and it's really pretty. And it is small. It's going to be interesting. I'm sure we'll get used to it. I'm sure I will. I wouldn't normally buy brown, but something about this made me kind of want it. I think I'm going to put some of my flamingo ornaments on it because then they'll be really titchy and cute. Yeah, and then I can just use one thread of the hand-dyed, over-dyed floss, which will make the variation more. So yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do with it. Or at least that's what I'm going to try. And I could probably fit quite a few on here on this bit. But yes, so that was Peakside Needlecraft. Peakside are really great. If you haven't used them, they ship incredibly quickly. They have a lot of charts. They have a lot of charts that other UK sellers don't have, and I've never had anything in my interactions with them that's been anything less than excellent. So I would recommend them. Chromatic Alchemy. I got accepted into the Fabric of the Month Club. I sent a request to join the waiting list a couple of months ago, and she added a few more people for June. I'm really excited. I think it's bi-monthly. I don't know if it's monthly or bi-monthly. I'm very excited. I asked for 32 count linen, and you can change each month if you want something slightly different. 13 by 18, which is the size that I usually most of my things fit on. And yeah, I mean, I buy so many Chromatic Alchemy fabrics that it seems silly not to be part of the Fabric of the Month Club. Just give me a face. In other things that I just want to show you, one of our suppliers for our D&D game sent some things. So these are dice boxes. They're handcrafted wooden dice boxes, and this is the one that they sent me. So they sent me one with a fish on it, and it's great. It's in this sort of purpley wood, which is really cool. And then it has engraving on the inside as well. Just on this bit. And you can roll your dice inside this. So D&D is a game that involves a lot of dice rolling. So it's have, and I was very pleased with it. So yes, just want to show it off because I'm very happy with it. The company who makes these are called Elderwood Academy, and they make a lot of different dice-based things. So if you're into dice or D&D in any way, they're really cool. Check them out. We do have as Raw Together, we do have a discount code. So if you're interested, just message me. I can send that over to you. But yes, it's very pretty. And yes, I was very excited to show you. And that is everything, I think. Thank you so much for joining me again. I'll be back again in 2 weeks to show you what I've worked on. Work is definitely ramping up. We're opening museum next week, so everything is kind of getting busy in the run up. I'm also getting a tattoo next week. I'm really excited. I'm getting a manta ray on my foot. I had 2 tattoos booked last year that both got cancelled because of COVID and lockdowns, which was absolutely nothing to do with the artist, none of their fault, but it was just so disappointing. So one of those is rebooked for September. This is an entirely new one that I just wanted. So yes, I'm very excited, and it's probably poor timing because I'm going to get a foot tattoo and then not be able to go anywhere. But it's fine. So yes, very excited about that. And yes. Oh, I know that obviously there is a massive stitching event happening in May that I haven't spoken about or mentioned. Small Town Stitch has mentioned this in her end of April Flosstube, and it's something that I was already thinking and kind of agree with her about. The word mania has connotations to do with mental health, specifically people with bipolar, that I don't personally find fun. I don't want to kind of harsh anyone's vibe. If you find that fun, that's kind of for you, and I don't want to tell you that you shouldn't do something. But for me, that's not something that I want to take part in. I also have loads of new starts. I don't need any more. So there are things like Mirabilia May that Sarah the Stitching Mummy is doing, and someone is doing a kind of Russian designers one, which has loads of different anything that has loads of blends that aren't specifically attached to the word mania, but anything that's attached to the word mania, I'm not going to use those hashtags or attach that to my channel because it's not a word that I associate with fun. So that's kind of why I haven't mentioned it. I just wanted to kind of make myself clear. But yes, on that slightly less fun note, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate everyone who's kind of joined, who is here, who's come back. If you want to join me again in 2 weeks' time, I'll be here again, and I would really appreciate you being here again. And yeah, hopefully we'll see each other soon. Bye.